Hello, my name is Ada Cobbs, and I'm a senior at Jackson High School, and this is my 20 time project. Throughout this school year, I chose to focus on social media and its effect on relationships. During this speech, I will give a brief description of the project, talk about my interest in it, what drew me to it, and then talk about how it developed into what it is now. I will then give a description of how I carried out this project and reflect on my success. After that, we'll look at my central question and compare the differences in what I believed at the start versus what I believed at the end of the project. Finally, we will talk about my plans to continue my research, the difficulties I had, and my personal reflection. For the project description, this is on the research aspect. In my research paper, I address the issues that social media brings to light, such as parasocial relationships, body image issues, average usage by week, self made influencers, the algorithm, social media addiction, phone addiction, Cocomelon kids, and I'm covering it a little bit, but also iPad kids, which are older children. Then for my disservice aspect of this project, it basically serves as my call to action would in an essay. I worked on my own way of cutting back on social media, and then I encourage my listeners to do the same. And we talk about things such as setting these boundaries, like turning off likes, limiting usage, deleting apps, deleting followers, and unfollowing accounts that don't suit them. So, my interest in the project started because I run the JSA and JAGS social media. When I As I'm running these, I create posts, prepare information, and I'm collaborating with others. I'm taking images, designing the posts, I'm creating the themes, I'm staying on top of deadlines and important dates to make sure I can push that information out to everyone. And I'm working with the JAGS PR team, Mrs. Gardner, Mrs. Rissler, and Sophia Bader. This is the outline I follow to make sure all of the accounts look cohesive. The top row shows the outline for JAGS, and it has my color palette and lots of blue and gold, and then the 5 fonts that I switch in between. Here are some examples of some JAGS posts. See, lots of blue and gold. I like to use that font a lot, and I switch them up so that way they all go together, but they're not all the same. And then same thing for JSA, except I have a lot more creative freedom on the JSA side because JSA is all about expressing yourself. So I was able to use a lot more bright colors and fun and exciting fonts rather than corporate fonts. So these are my JSA examples. See, lots of pictures, lots of stuff to be engaged, and it shows how much fun we really have. And for my service portion, like I previously stated, I spoke to all of JAGS during our March community meeting about their social media habits and my experience with cutting back on it. I'm going to briefly go through this presentation, but only to show how I really carried out my project. So I started the Oops. On this page, it lists some common red flags to look at if you think you have a problem with social media, and personally, I find myself doing most of them. So I started with just reading down the list and telling them to take note of which ones they found themselves doing. And then this is the suggested ideas of how to cut back on social media usage, but it's not right for me to preach something without practicing it. So I did a little test of my own. And so basically, this was my rules and guidelines for my week without social media. My goals were to read 2 books, finish all my laundry, pick up 1 shift at work on my capstone, talk to a current OSU student, work out 4 times on Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday, visit OSU, and make a 2023 vision board. And then here were the rules. I could go on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for 0 minutes. And then Snapchat, I gave myself 7 minutes, and I could either reply twice a day or reply once and talk in my group chat for 3 minutes. And then I didn't count Pinterest and VSCO because I feel like those don't have the same dopamine reception. So this is my week without social media. As you can see, I did a lot of visiting with friends, reading, napping, going to the gym. And then in my reflection, like the first night, I noticed that I was scrolling through 3 different apps like I would social media. Like normally I would go on Snapchat and I'd refresh and see if anyone replied, and I'd go on Instagram and refresh and see if anything's new, and I'd go on Twitter and see if anyone posted something. But instead I was doing that with my camera roll, the Airy app, and BeReal, which are all apps that don't really update as frequently. So I could find myself doing things that weren't necessarily correct, but I knew that I had done them because it was a habit from my social media usage. And then I limited all of them on my phone so that way I couldn't even open them, just so that way there was no temptation on it. And I definitely found myself whenever I was bored just clicking on it, which is so weird. And then on Wednesday, I did cheat a little bit, but I felt so guilty about it. I did not do it for long. And then Thursday, I finished up my book. And then Friday, I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep going. Like, this project has been so good for me. I'm not going to stop at midnight. I'm going to see if I can wait till the morning. And then it hit midnight, and all my timers were up. And I was like, I think I'm going to check my phone. So I failed. But I think I had a great time attempting it. And some of my personal takeaways are that I was significantly more productive. As you could tell, I had my whole list and I got all of it done. I felt really proud of myself for standing my ground, other than Wednesday a little bit. And I actually thought about when I was going to use it and not just mindlessly opening them. Whenever I'd open it and it wouldn't let me, I'd be like, oh, I'm bored right now. What else could I do? How can I refocus my energy somewhere else? I got to relax a lot more, and I established a nice routine, and I was able to set a plan and then go and achieve that plan. And I really didn't miss it as much as I thought I would. But did I stick with it? No. I started off strong for the next day or two, but then I was with my friends, and there's like that hour where everyone's not doing anything, just sitting in silence. And what am I supposed to do during that? I went on my phone, but I would love to try again. So, looking at my essential question with the way society is it realistic to have good social media habits? And I honestly think the answer is no. Everything now moves so fast, and if you miss something, you're just out of the loop. And if you don't go on TikTok, how will you understand the trends and references? If you don't go on Twitter, how will you see all the latest drama? If you don't go on Instagram, how will you know what everyone did this week? All of modern life is so rooted in social media that I don't think it's realistic to have a healthy relationship with it naturally. So, what I thought compared to my original ideas, everything I learned went with what I already imagined, but it either gave me hope or created a sense of urgency. Kids using social media is detrimental to their social skills, although I think my generation is able to see that, and many have plans to keep their children away from screen time as long as possible. Do I think I have a problem with social media? Yes. But also, so does everyone else at this point. So I don't really need to be as ashamed of it as I was. And my mom did everything she could to try to get me to not have this issue with social media. She tried to steer clear. I wasn't allowed to have it until high school, and then that just made me want it more, and look where I am now. Is it going to get better? I genuinely believe so, but it needs to be addressed now so that way we can make better strides going forward and get better. So, is this project over? No. At this point, I don't think it's ever going to really be over. And we as a society are going to need to make changes and alter the patterns that we've fallen into. We'll have to be cautious about it for the rest of our lives, because since it's something that is so in your face, it's super easy to slip back into it. I thought I was going to make all these great strides from my little experiment, and I was going to like totally refocus. And then I immediately went back to ignoring my time limits, just clicking the 15 more minutes button, and just like completely, it's like everything I had learned was just like out the window, and I'd fallen back into old habits. So I think this is something that people will really need to focus on, and put a lot of energy into it. So this experiment was definitely difficult. During my week without social media, I had to ask one of my JAGS counterparts to post the items I had for that week, and then they just didn't. So that made me look bad, and it looked like I was slacking, but it wasn't. It was just like some poor communication. Um, and there was also an incident during the week, and my curiosity got the best of me on Wednesday, like I said. And so I ignored my social media limits just a little bit to try to figure out what was going on and get more information. But honestly, I could have just asked a friend. Like, it was a lapse of judgment. But my research, on the other hand, made me reevaluate some of my actions, and it's given me a lot of helpful tools to cut back on my usage once I'm done with my capstone, especially. So hopefully this summer will be a lot less techy than summers before, and I'll be able to just live in the moment and enjoy my senior summer. Wow. In the end, I do challenge you to do the same. If my presentation has taught you anything, it's that we all have a long way to go before we fix our relationships with social media. But it's doable. Trying to cut out social media is a process. But in the end, you will feel much more accomplished and establish much healthier boundaries with your phone. So, with that being said, thank you for listening. I really enjoyed my capstone choice, and I think it helped me get a better perspective on the issue. I'm aware that there are habits in my life that need to change, and I feel much more equipped to change them. And I hope you learned something, or at least enjoyed hearing about my findings. Thank you for listening.